Hello, my name's Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week, our guest is Jay Karen, who is the CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association. And he's here to tell us about a surprising and shocking thing that's happening with tee time systems across the U.S. and certainly has affected at least one that we know of, Bethpage Black. Sorry. Jay, go ahead and talk to us about this problem.
Sure. Hey, Kathy, Gary, it's good to be with you guys. So the issue of Bethpage is interesting because there's always been high demand at Bethpage. My father, I was born in Brentwood, New York, which is just down the street from Bethpage. And my dad tells his stories of the late 60s, early 70s, sleeping in the car the night before, the same thing. That's where he learned to play the game of golf. So they've actually always had a high demand issue there at that particular place. But in the industry at large, since COVID, really, the demand for golf, public golf in particular as well, has just skyrocketed, right? Every year it's been year over year, and even 2025 is looking like it's going to be better than 2024, right? And so the high demand has put pressure on the tee sheet in ways that expected and unexpected. I say authorized and unauthorized, I guess, is kind of what we're dealing with. And I'd love to be able to get into multiple issues affecting the tee time space, but this one in particular is reminiscent of what was happening in Los Angeles County, the municipal golf courses there, San Diego County as well, where nefarious, I use the word nefarious with a lowercase n, it's not like, the world is falling, but technology, call them bots. There are people behind bots. So it's really people that were grabbing high demand spots off the tee sheet, multiple of them, and in some discreet way reselling them to their friends through private channels, right? They're unloading them privately in ways. So that was getting the attention, obviously, of elected officials because there's the citizens of those areas feel like this is our course. We should have access to it. That is, that's in the DNA of municipal golf in particular, but it's also happening at privately owned public golf courses. There was a case in the last couple of years, one in particular out in Scottsdale when Waste Management was happening, where popular resorts were having tee times grabbed up, and they were attempted to be resold on new platforms, right? So not just discreetly sold to friends, but new technology platforms were surfacing to try to resell those tee times, presumably at a profit, right? And the problem with that, and there are a lot of problems with this, obviously, because it was not with the authorization of the golf course itself, but those golf courses in question were not charging deposits or advance payments. So it's easy to grab up times, but this particular site was using basically fake credit cards to grab the times and try to resell them. And what was happening in this case were no-shows. Now, in Bethpage and these other places, these aren't no-show problems. They're just local citizens not getting access to their tee times. But in the cases of in Waste Management and these other high demand places, it was happening in Southern California as well, is that when those platforms were grabbing those tee times and not paying for them, and they were not successfully reselling them, then the course is left holding the bag because nobody shows up for that tee time, causing tens of thousands of dollars to those golf courses in lost revenue. So this issue in particular, guys, is painful because it feels like theft to the golf course. It's indicative of a lot of issues happening in golf right now. And NGCOA is kind of pushing the pause button next month and hosting a Tee Time Summit to bring the industry together to try to workshop through some of these issues.
It's funny how it worked so easily before, Jay, when you just had to go put your ball in the rack on the first tee and wait your turn. But technology, for all its benefits, brings all its problems. And
you're right. In fact, that's a key question right now, Gary, in the conversation around artificial intelligence. Right. Just in general, like it feels like 1995 all over again when the internet was new and people were excited about it. But it brings a host of other problems as well at the same time that it's hard to anticipate the problems because you don't know. With artificial intelligence, it's going to have an effect on tee time booking as well. And we're asking the questions, what are the benefits, but what are the problems that it's going to cause as well? And so we're going to tackle some of those questions at the Tee Time Summit. So I'm happy to talk about that as well, what I think artificial intelligence is going to do.
Well, go ahead. What do you think?
I mean, if you make people pay up front, I guess you'd have to verify the credit card. That could be that could also dissuade actual customers from playing. So
That's true. Yeah,
what
we've
are
actually.
some of the solutions to preventing the this black market of tee times?
Well, certainly requiring prepayment up front helps because if you, especially the more you charge up front, the more risk you're taking on to grab these tee times and try to resell them, right? So if there's no skin in the game, that's easy. But Gary, to your point, we actually started surveying golfers ahead of the Tee Time Summit, kind of asking them about changes to no-show policies and advanced registration requirements, like paying for the tee time in advance, right? And I think it's been a very customer-friendly way of running the business, where golf courses kind of take all the risk. If you, Gary, made a reservation for 4 people to play Saturday morning and only 2 show up, we call that a short show, not a no-show necessarily. And now all of a sudden, the course is left holding the bag with 2 of those tee times, prime time, and it's like, oh, sorry. And that's kind of how it's been. Look at the airline industry. I mean, you're paying for your ticket before you get on that plane, because what if you didn't show and you're going to get your money back? No, I mean, golf courses take the risk on this. So we're starting to evaluate, well, one, what is golfer sentiment? If you ask them what they want to do, of course they're going to say, we don't want to pay. We're trying to figure out.
Hey, my plans are fluid. I mean, can I count on two of my friends to show up? They said they were going to, but if they didn't, yeah.
Well,
so to that point, though, there is a piece of technology out there called Golf District, and Golf District is attempting to be the good guy in what's called, I'm calling the stub hubbing of tee times, the reselling opportunity. So, Gary, if you made your tee time at, let's say, Encinitas Ranch down in San Diego area for 4 players, and you knew 48 hours in advance 2 of the guys are bailing on you. Well, they have a partnership with this technology called Golf District, where you could go on and basically try to resell those tee times, and they're going to help try to market those to their database of golfers. Say, okay, all of a sudden now we've got 2 players open for Saturday morning at 10 a.m., and you could resell that. And the golf course is participating in that as well. This is an authorized way of allowing you kind of out, right? You could sell it for more money than you bought it for, and that's fine. Or you can unload it for a little bit less if you have to. Like I do sometimes when I take a risk buying something on StubHub. If I can't go to the concert, I'm going to try to resell it again on StubHub. I might get my money back. I might not. I might make more. You're going to see that with, I think, golf tee time booking. Is that yes, it's still, the onus is going to be back on you, though, instead of all on the golf course. That's kind of what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, you definitely have to change the attitudes of golfers like myself, who are thrifty, value conscious. I would say cheap, because that's the real word. But I just don't want the hassle. I make a tee time, and I intend to show, and I will show up, but sometimes a week in advance. I don't want to pay. I just don't like to pay up front. There's no reason other than I don't like to commit the money. But
understand, Gary, with
it doesn't seem like there's a simple solution to this. It's going to be, you're either have to go super high tech or go super low tech.
Yeah. I think there's a simple solution, but the problem is it's just not going to please everybody. It's going to cause some customers to be more upset.
I mean, they may be upset for a week or 2, but then it'll be the system that they have to use.
Right. And we have dynamic pricing software now in the tee time systems, where you might pay $5 more for the 11:08 than you did the 11 o'clock, and you might pay $5 more in the person in the same tee time as you, just like airlines do. We might, what would be interesting would be to have dynamic no-show policies. Like, look, if it's before 12 p.m. on Saturday, you're paying in advance. I'm sorry, it's like these are too valuable tee times. But if it's in the afternoon, there could be some flexibility there, right? Because that's usually when there is flexibility, is more in the afternoons on the tee sheet.
If you've got a course like Bethpage Black, I can't see why you'd have any flexibility at all. There's just such strong demand for that course. If I were the state of New York, because don't they own the golf courses?
Yeah, the state of New York. Yeah, in fact, they have a
rule.
They're trying. No, you're right, Kathy, and they're trying to pass a law in the state of New York that would make illegal any platform that tries to resell tee times at Bethpage without the express permission of Bethpage. Right. Good. So this has been happening in the restaurant industry for a long time. There were these third-party sites where, if you got reservation at 11 Park Avenue, New York City, through Open Table or Resi or whatever, the system is, that reservation alone just could be worth a couple $100, not even the food, just the reservation. And so there were platforms out there that allowed you to resell just your reservation, right, for a profit. And the restaurants had nothing to do with it. They were basically, they were unwitting, not participating. So someone's making a ton of money off of what they are putting into the market. Right. And their states have passed laws to try to curb that kind of behavior. So it's getting complicated, guys. It's, technology is meant to solve problems, but it can just trade one set of problems for another. Let's talk, if you don't mind, about artificial intelligence a little bit.
Well, Dan, I know a guy who knows a guy who can get you a 4-person booth at Chick-fil-A on a Saturday during noon hour.
Oh, now, but Gary, can they get me that booth on a Sunday? Do you know a guy? Yeah, do you know a guy who can get me a table on a Sunday though? That's what I'll pay for.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, the parking. I know, but I can get you a good parking spot.
That's really good. Right.
Plenty of parking available.
That's good. Well, so
before you get into the high tech thing, just one more thing: is there a trend? You mentioned the nefarious people doing this. Are these just enterprising individuals, or is it more nationally organized by one or two groups?
No, I think
or don't we know?
From what I can see, they seem to be local individuals that are trying to be entrepreneurial with technology and trying to siphon a little value out of it. So we don't have any evidence of a national phenomenon or some central nervous system really trying to make all this happen across the country.
Let's call it what it is, Jay. They're trying to take money from the golf course owners, and that's just wrong. It's pirates. Stealing. Yeah. So,
well, if you just said the Mexican drug cartels are behind this, I'd be all in favor of invade Mexico tomorrow. So
yes, is that important of issue in our society?
Well, you're not only taking money out of the golf courses, but for me to get a tee time, you're taking money out of my pocket to pay more too. So
that's true. No shows are $1 billion estimated $1 billion problem in golf, right? And the piracy and all of these things. I mean, piracy's been happening since the beginning of time, right?
Oh,
and so we're just trying to do our best to protect the sustainability and health of the golf course itself. Right. If you don't have the golf courses succeeding, you don't have places to play, right? So that's who I protect and defend and advance in my job.
I think you can still, for the most part, this is changing. You rent a car if you don't show. There hadn't been a penalty in the past, and I'm not sure what Hertz and Avis do now, but I want to say there's a $15 or $20 or $50 non-refundable part of your reservation that you don't get if you don't cancel and don't show up.
What I'm finding is they'll offer a rate reduction for you to pay full in advance,
like a slight rate
reduction. Yeah. Once you do that, then you're on the hook. Sorry, you're paying for that. There's the site Turo, Turo, which is kind of like the Airbnb for rental cars, and I had to cancel a trip recently to Denver and like 2 or 3 days in advance, and I was SOL. I had to pay the $300 something bucks, and you're kind of at the mercy of the host to say, maybe say, oh, I get it. My wife had COVID and I was like, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not going, but it's like, sorry, I'm sorry for your wife's sickness, but I hope she gets better. And they got the $310, so it's the assumption of risk. Where does the assumption of risk?
That's why I hate to pay in advance for rental cars because.
I like it, but I do like when they give you a choice. Like if you're going and you're getting a preferential rate, there's something there that, there's something in the balance there that works. And so I think these systems will eventually evolve to that, right? There'll be balance in there, because if the customer revolts and says, no, I'm not going to book here because they require payment in advance. Yeah. Well, if your T sheet takes a hit on that, if your numbers are dropping, you're going to change your policy probably a little bit, and so we'll see where the market goes with this.
Yes.
You were going to dive into AI and how my robot golfer, my robot avatars are going to go play the golf for me, I think is where you were going.
Close. But they may make the tee time for you. In fact, So traditionally, I say traditionally, the last 25, 30 years, when you go and shop for a tee time, you either do it directly with the golf course, right there on their booking engine, or use a third party, what we call online tee time agencies, OTTAs, a Golf Now, a Supreme Golf. There have been iterations of this over the last 30 years. If you see a tee time on a third party like Golf Now, it's generally because they have what's called an API connection to your software. So it's basically pulling directly from your inventory and showing it on Golf Now. So there's a permission base there. There's a contractual agreement that it's putting its hand in your inventory and showing it, right? That's how it's worked up until now. And the entire golf tee time economy has been based on these connections. Well, here we are now with artificial intelligence flying over all of this. And what I see happening, guys, is us moving into what I'm calling a post-API world in tee times, meaning there's going to be an AI agent, to your point, Gary, an avatar or an AI agent. Let's just, whatever the name of it's going to be. Let's call it Nicholas. Okay, I've got Nicholas as my AI agent. And you're going to say, hey, okay, Nicholas, I'm going to be in Charleston this Tuesday morning. Please find me, all the public tee times available within 20 miles of Charleston between 9 and 10 a.m. and for 4 people and no more than $85. And it will basically act as you, scan the universe and how it scans and what it scans and how it prioritizes is what's in play right now. That's why it feels like 1995 all over again when search engines were figuring out who do we prioritize on our search engines, right? Feels that way a little bit. But what's going to happen, this is what I'm predicting, at least from what I'm seeing, is okay, it'll show you, all right, here we go. We got Patriots Point at $948 for $82. Rivertown for this much. Would you like me to make the booking for you, Gary? Yes, I would. Okay, who are the 3 other players? Here are their names. And it will act as the human, go to those websites and fill out the data. And if it has your payment, your credit card information through some secured way, you've given it your Amex or whatever, it will actually make that booking for you, right? And so the questions, we're like, oh my gosh, how could that? It's basically, I call it the brother-in-law effect. If you got 4 guys trying to play golf, one person's doing all the searching, all the hunting, and they come back and say, here's the brother-in-law is giving you all the information. What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to book? And the brother-in-law takes all the risk, puts his credit card in, and you guys figure out how to pay in the background. That's kind of what it's doing here. And the question is, holy cow, this is bypassing the connectivity issues, right? The AI agent is not connecting to any inventory source. It's reading it, or some might say scraping it. Scraping is a pretty pejorative term in the industry. It sounds awful, but it's reading and scanning and surfacing the information that is already on publicly available websites.
So
and
you don't have to go through you don't have to go through and look for all of that yourself.
Yes.
Same thing for what is it? Angie's List for people to come and fix something at your house.
Right. Yeah. And it's exciting to think about because it would make that process so efficient, because one of the biggest complaints of golfers is it's hard to make a tee time if you're trying to search multiple places and figure out where do we want to go, where do we want to play. And I get that. And that actually is more difficult because we don't have a great central place that shows all availability. Yes, Golf Now and Supreme Golf show a lot, but they don't have the entire market. There are a lot of courses that don't participate in those. So the question is, wow, isn't this great? But all of a sudden now you realize what a giant this could be. What an 800-pound gorilla these AI tools could be. Oh, sure. And it's the unknown that scares us. It's like, what if they have so much power, then they start dictating what the price is going to be of golf, or somehow influencing, putting the thumb on the scale of supply and demand here. We just don't know because AI is still an unknown, right? But I like the efficiency that it may bring to the table.
Well,
you're talking about like the Trivago for golf course times.
Yeah, and it would also be a way to evaluate how many people are going to be no-shows out of a giant universe versus 1 or 2, or what's happening at one golf course on Long Island versus what's happening in the entire world. And so golf courses may get to be better at pricing and at accommodating their players, and figuring out which tee times they're going to sell through the system and which ones they aren't. I mean, if it were me and I were a golf course owner, I wouldn't sell anything before noon or 12:30 on weekend mornings.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. And
I know I could fill that up myself.
That's exactly right. In this case, though, Kathy, it's just there's no decision making on the golf course owner's part. The AI agents are going to be doing all the booking.
Okay.
Yeah, but to your point, the connectivity. If my tee times are in golf now, I may think, to your point, I don't need their help selling Saturday morning. So how can I take Saturday morning tee times off of that of that site? That's hard to do in the current system right now, because they have deals where you got to put all your tee times on or none of them to get the connectivity. Gary, to your point about Trivago, the slight difference here is Trivago and Kayak. I like to use Kayak as an example, right, as well, where Southwest Airlines and some of the other smaller airlines used to not participate in those sites at all, right? And so you really still only had, even it was an aggregator of aggregators, you still could only see the products that connected to the systems, and it left off those that didn't connect. AI is going to fly over that and show you everything that is publicly available, except now here's the question, is like, there is actually technology. One of the systems is called Cloudflare that would allow a website. So if you're NGCOA down in Charleston, let's say you don't want AI agents for whatever reason, you don't want AI agents reading your tee sheet and surfacing them for golfers. There are programs like Cloudflare that disable these agents and scraping from happening on your site. And so this is the Wild West right now to figure out, is this good or is it bad? We don't know, and again, to the Tee Time Summit we're hosting October 13th in the Dallas Frisco area. We're bringing the market together. We're bringing AI companies. We're bringing the technology companies of golf. We're bringing golf course owners, operators. We're bringing intellectual property attorneys, credit card processing companies, because credit card processing is right in the middle of all of this. Absolutely. And we're workshopping around these issues. We're actually getting around tables and discussing and trying to co-create what should the standards be over the next 20 years for practicing commerce together. What are the rules? What are the guardrails? Who owns the customer data? How about the payment? Who gets the payment when? And all of these, name, image, and likeness. Can third-party sites use your golf course brand, logo, and image without your permission when they're trying to sell tee times? These kinds of things that we're going to be discussing in depth. Yeah.
It's not without your permission. That's the issue.
And what does the golf course owner get out of this? You're already, through credit card, you're probably already giving up a 3% slice. These aggregators or the AI, I mean, everybody wants a piece of the action. How much are you going to have to give up to be part of this? Because if you're left out, there's the risk that you might lose business because everybody else is in the game and you aren't.
You're right. And to dive a little into the weeds on this, with even with credit card processing, the rates that a golf course is paying per swipe or per credit card charge varies based on the situation. Like, for example, if you show up at the counter with your card, the rate that they pay for that transaction is a little bit lower because Gary showed up with his card. It's about as trustworthy as possible. A card not present transaction, which is basically an online booking, yields a higher fee. What is an AI agent going to yield? If it's an AI agent, is it going to be a little bit higher, right? And then actually we have an interesting issue with chargebacks in our industry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with chargebacks, but let's say, Kathy, you book a tee time and the golf course charges you in advance because golf courses are now, let's say this is 5 years down the road. Golf courses are now charging more in advance for you to play. I know Gary doesn't like this, but if they charge you, the $30 in advance or a fee or even the $100 and you don't show up. Let's just, even though you agreed to a policy at the tee time booking, say, I agree that if I don't show up, the course can still have my money. But you don't show up. Let's say you got sick or whatever. Well, you have the ability to go to your credit card company and say, I didn't play golf that day and they still charge me and I want my money back. And 9 times out of 10, the credit card companies side with the card holder. Yes. And the course doesn't get its money. So we're bringing the credit card companies into the room to say, well, hang on a second, time out. If Kathy agreed to it, or what should ironclad wording be on a tee time reservation and an agreement? What should be the ironclad wording that allows the golf course to say, sorry, here's proof that Kathy agreed. This is the language she used. So you should deny the chargeback. Sorry, she didn't show, but she agreed to this. That's one of the conversations we're going to have at this Tee Time Summit about standardized language. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to have that too. And some nice high-powered lawyer needs to make sure that it's all buttoned down and everything, because there needs to be no misunderstanding on anybody's part as to what's going to happen.
Well, I'm already contemplating becoming a golf lawyer to help people sue over lift-out putts and adverse wind and bad bounces.
Oh,
So,
you should be in the errant golf ball litigations arena, Gary, because we've
yes.
had so many. The NGCOA has been involved in the last 2 years in some pretty significant errant golf ball cases. That have reached its way to the Supreme Court in Massachusetts and New York.
Really?
Just stuff that, yes, yeah. I mean,
My
so
birdie putt
interesting
whipped
stuff.
out. It was dead in the center, and this caused me a lot of trauma. They
Oh,
need to be reimbursed.
oh,
Emotional distress.
my score is causing me trauma.
Yeah, well, that too. So, if AI takes this over, the tee time thing, when they run your credit card to pay in advance, are you paying the golf course? Are you paying AI? And then how does either partner get their share of the money back?
Super good question. So what I see happening is that the AI agent will charge the golfer a monthly fee to use its tool. Okay, so you're let's say $5 a month to use this Nicholas AI app that I just created, right?
Okay.
And I'm sure that's a copyright protected name that
Yeah,
I'm sure
but,
it is.
and it probably is never going to get you a time on a Palmer course either. But that's another story.
Very good. Very good. So what I see happening is, I mean, it could be like Apple Pay, right? Apple Pay is just a conduit. When you look at your credit card statement and you happen to use Apple Pay, whatever, the credit card statement doesn't show that Apple got your money. It shows that the merchant got your money, right? And so I would hope that the AI agents would be like that the money is just a pass through to the merchant. And the merchant's paying the credit card processing fees, all of that. It's acting as the human being rather than a technology middleman in the processing and the charging and all that. So that's how I hope it happens. If that's the case, then we'll have less complexity, because then you don't have someone keeping the money and getting the money having to now pay the golf course. It's coming directly from Jay Karen and my credit card. I just happen to give the AI agent my card number.
Yeah. Well, this has been an eye-opening bit of information, and it sounds to me like it's a mountain of lawyers that are going to have to be climbed over.
I just hope Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau are able to purchase tee times Friday morning of Ryder Cup week at Bethpage Black. They might get shut out and not play till the afternoon.
They might have to sleep in the parking lot. They might have to sleep in the parking lot, Gary.
Sleep in the parking lot. That's what they should do. They should make them sleep in the parking lot.
Oh,
I gotta say this.
Reserve spaces in the parking lot for people.
I'm going to say this.
Like, way to solve that one.
we joke and we laugh about, putting your ball in the slot, the old way of kind of getting in line. It's like, I have a great friend of mine, a golf course owner. His name is Rock Lucas. He has a Charwood Golf Club outside of Columbia, South Carolina, and he's hilarious. And he's involved in all this tech stuff. He uses a lot for a small kind of blue collar place. He uses great technology there. But he said, Jay, I want to move my way back to the cigar box as my database, as my cash register, as my operating system is a cigar box. Leave your $10 in, go play golf, right? It's like, just technology can help solve so many problems and make so many things easier. But there's what's called a tech stack at a business. What is your tech stack? How many pieces of technology are you using now to have to run your business, right? And it's a burden. And that's where golf course owners and operators are evaluating: is the juice worth the squeeze here? Is the burden worth having to train my staff on how to use this technology or not? And we're seeing some real great tech companies make advancements like I haven't seen before in our industry. So I guess the answer is it's worth it these days to help solve for some of these systemic problems that we've been having at golf courses.
Well, golf is on a roll right now, so it probably isn't.
It's a good time to do it.
Be that important to be left behind, but when golf is not as popular at some future date, you're probably going to wish you had gotten involved. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with at your meetings.
Well, to that point, Gary, the technology is definitely these days responsive to the high demand. And I'm keeping my eye on to think, like, what if demand curbs, like you said? Are these same technology platforms going to be as valuable? But I'll tell you what, when demand was really low in golf, really low for 15 straight years, that's when you saw the rise of companies like Golf Now. Because there's so much availability on the tee sheet that golf courses said, sure, I can spare trading and bartering a tee time and giving you the ability to price that round of golf for us, which was, in my estimation, kind of the kryptonite of the golf economy in many ways, is giving sites like that power to control the price of your tee time. So rest assured, even if the economy goes soft again, there will be tech entrepreneurs that will come to the table to try to rescue golf when times are bad as well, right? You can count on technology trying to solve in the good and the bad times.
Well, thank you so much for being with us and explaining about this, I'm going to say new problem, because it is.
Yep.
And hopefully
Thanks.
we can catch up to you at the PGA show in January and find out whether or not you've made any progress.
Thanks for raising our tech IQ.
Yes.
My pleasure. In that Tea Time Summit I mentioned, October 13th, it's actually the day before we are putting on the Golf Business Tech Con, the Golf Business Technology Conference, October 14th and 15th, where golf course owners and operators from around the country are going to come and their tech IQ. The hope is that their tech IQ is going to be a bit higher after leaving the Frisco area and going back to the courses. So let's follow up in Orlando in January.
Cool.
See, how did the Tea Time Summit go? What did we accomplish? What are the new standards going to be? Would love to have a follow-up conversation, guys.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll be there with my robot.
Your avatar. All right.